Well, we are live.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our very first live I'm a Stat Man. Joined tonight with Matt Gilly, who's going to be trying to control the new software that we're using, and we're all pretty thick here at Ought Know Better, so he's probably the best of a bad bunch. But we're also joined, as always, resident Stat Man, Andrew Dalton. How are you doing, Andrew? Oh, that's a great start. That's a great start. He's not even here.
Gone?
He's gone. He's had enough. He's had
Brilliant.
enough. Well, what we'll do then, Matt, if you want, well, he's probably going to rejoin. But what we'll probably have to do, we've only got 10 or 15 minutes, is address the obvious elephant in the room tonight. That is this European Super League. What the fuck is all that about?
Do you know, it all boils down to exactly what the authorities will do about it now. You know, it's written in the laws of the game that there are repercussions for any teams that are registering themselves to play with Stats are just rejoining now. Any competitions that are not set in the Premier League layout at the start of the season. If you enter into a competition that's not in the list, I think there's 7 of them, then you can be expelled if more than 75% of chairmen agree with that, which is where the power is in the league. So what scares me is if more than 25% outside those 6, because those 6 will be getting investigated, if more than 25% stand with them, we've got problems.
Well, 6 out of 24 is it? Because 5 would be 25%.
No, it's the pyramid. I don't think it's just the Premier League. I think it's the overall. Right, I'm just bringing stats in now. There we go.
Welcome back. I think he's gone again. I think he needs to put another hamster on the wheel on his internet. Oof. Let's just leave stats out of it for a moment while we try and get him back. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not great, and obviously I've seen a few videos knocking about on Twitter and that already about these 6 clubs and what to expect. I mean, what do you make of it if you're a fan of one of these clubs? I mean, from what I've seen, to me certainly it looks more like they're following suit in terms of they don't stand by it. Apart from obviously the one or two in, I think it was Ghana, Smarty or somebody retweeted earlier. There was a guy out there that's saying basically.
So I think, you know, when you look at it, I think that the international fans is what it's aimed at. It's not aimed at the fans that have actually made the club what they are. If you've got domestic fans, well, that's irrelevant in this. The clubs are looking to make their money from international stage and to sell the broadcasting rights. And look at the Far East markets and look at the American markets. They're not thinking of people in Manchester. They're not thinking of people in London. That's the fan base that's made that club what it is. But that's not who they're thinking about. They're thinking about the money.
Absolutely, and that's what it does come down to. It completely, it is all about making the rich richer, and unfortunately, that's going to have repercussions across. Not just, I wouldn't even just say across those top 6 fans, because as a Leeds fan, you want to be playing against those teams week in, week out. You want to be testing yourself. If Leeds to win the league next season or the season after, and there was no Man City, no Scum, no Liverpool, you know, all the big sides that genuinely compete every season to try and win the league, would it feel like a bit of a false win? I don't know. Do you know what I mean? How would it feel?
It would be tainted, regardless of who wins next season. If they're not in that league, regardless of who wins it, it would be tainted. If you think of the achievement of Leicester, was just you couldn't have written that at the start of the season. And I think there were people that were winning bets at 2,500 to 1 from the start of the season. And, you know, because it were all over social media, do I let it ride or not, when it was 6 games from end of season and that sort of thing. And, you know, that achievement is just unreal. It's absolutely unreal, especially in today's markets. But what you can't then do is hold that in the same regard as whoever wins it next season. If you don't have your Scum, your Liverpool, your Chelsea, your City, where all the money has always been, where they've bought the league, if you don't have them in it, it'll always be tainted.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I don't know if Stats is back with us, but let's just have a double check, see whether or not his internet's up to speed. We're just going to try adding Stats in now, really quickly. Andrew Dalton, are you with us? It doesn't look any more promising, so we'll just keep removing. We'll just carry on having a chat about other things. First of all, then we've had a brief chat over this. I mean, we're probably not qualified enough to talk about it as much as Nev and Carragher, so I don't want to keep this going for much longer without Stats. But what we'll do, we'll have a talk about the lineup and things and what to expect. I think in terms of the game. So we've just heard that there's no Rafinha on the team bus, which would assume that Costa starts and Jack Harrison comes back in from City. Obviously Cooper's banned. So will it be Strike or Koch? But did Stats mention earlier that Koch's injured or is unavailable?
Well, he said it wasn't there. Yeah.
Yeah, so
whether that's official and confirmed or not, I'm not sure. But yeah, he said there was no Cock.
Yeah, well, who doesn't like a bit of Cock before a game? So yeah, I mean, it's quite obvious that Strike would go straight in there. In terms of the team that played Liverpool at the start of the season, it's not all that different, is it? I think obviously did Rodrigo did play, didn't he, against
Cock played as well.
Yeah, Koch played. So yeah, it's probably a lot more different than we think. But how do you expect us to get on? I suppose that's where we are. Do Liverpool look at it now and think, fuck it, what we got to play for? Are we playing for Champions League places? Are we playing for? Do you know what are they playing for?
And that's the difficulty when it comes right down to it. I think you've got to look at the professionalism of the players, and what we were saying in the warm up just before we went live echoes for me, and it is true that. What's been done has been done to the players as much as it's been done to anybody else. I think when it comes down to Liverpool, use Harry Kane as the example. He's aiming to be the Premier League's top ever goal scorer. That's surely where he must set his sights because he's on the road towards it. He's been wearing the England captain's armband, and all of a sudden he's in a position where his club has potentially lined him up to not be eligible for his national team while ever he stays there. How do you feel as a player? You cannot concentrate on your football with that hanging over you.
It's going to get so messy in terms of contracts and things. Can you imagine how messy it's going to get? There's a player there here. Harry Kane's a great example. Why would he want to stay at Spurs if he wants to play for England? Everybody must dream as a footballer, as a young kid, growing up and wanting to play for their national country and representing and doing a real good job for their national team. Where does that? I've seen tweets from Luis Figo. I've seen tweets from it was the ex-Scum player. I forget his name. Central midfielder Herrera. That's him. I've seen tweets from. I've seen tweets from all sorts of players, club owners, leagues. One thing I was very surprised by was PSG not taking part.
Me too. Absolutely. I think when it comes down to German sides, there's 51% fan ownership, so that kind of is understandable. The one thing I would say on that, and I've got my cynic hat on, is the owners at PSG are in bed with FIFA for the World Cup. So will it change after the World Cup? Who knows? I suspect it probably will.
And I understand the president's also on the board at UEFA. The president of PSG is on the UEFA board.
I'd missed that, but there's been such a shake-up today. We've had all sorts of different members of boards and panels and so on leaving to join or leaving because the Seferin's come out and said that from his perspective, this can't be allowed to go on. He's had a go at the chairman at Juventus, and Andrea Agnelli, who's also stepped down from their roles at UEFA, and you're in a situation where people have been, even as recently as last week, people have been on record saying that this isn't going to happen and they're building for the future. And then all of a sudden this is announced. And actually the people that they've been on the boards with weren't aware that this were coming. They spoke to Alex Ferguson and asked him what his take on it was. And he said, I don't know, I've not been involved. When there's people that are involved in the club so intrinsically that didn't know it was coming, you've got to wonder, how is it that a club can feel that it's in a position to make this decision? And when you get right down to it, if this is allowed to happen, those clubs, I'll tell you, they become a franchise, and a franchise can move anywhere. And I dislike the scum in the way that any other Leeds fan does. But do we really want them to just disappear overnight? Because they'll end up in America, or they'll end up in the Far East, or whatever. And that hatred that we've got of them will just dissipate because they'll be completely irrelevant. They won't be involved in our sport anymore. None of it makes sense. It is all, there are those from Ghana.
The logistics, even. I mean, how are they going to travel between? I mean, who decides in the middle of a global fucking pandemic where you're not allowed to travel unless for? I mean, obviously they can for football. But who decides that's a great time to set up a European Super League where we play all the best teams the richest teams in Europe, should we possibly put it, not necessarily the best, because we beat the best team in England last week. So
with 10 men.
So yeah, with 10 men. So who decides who these big six are? It's an, as Derek said there, it is a load of bollocks, and it's good to see so many clubs taking a stance and a similar stance to the rest of the league and the fans. And it's the fans that I feel sorry for more than anybody. And as much as I hate a lot of those six clubs, I know I said fuck scum before we started, but it is the true fans, the lads and lasses and kids that have been going since they were knee high to a grasshopper and putting their hard-earned money into the clubs to support them genuinely. Then you get these, mega rich billionaires coming into the clubs, and they're just taking over. They just think they can do what the fuck they like. And for me, I think it's just one massive piss take. I mean, as I say, I have missed a lot of it today. I've tried catching up as I got home this afternoon, but I've probably missed the best part of what's gone on. So I am looking forward to seeing Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher in a couple of minutes' time. So unfortunately, although this was meant to be the first I'm a Statman live, we've had to do it without any stats or without the Statman. So we do apologise on behalf. I think he's been having we can still see him just in the background, but he's not. He seems to be buffering and things. So rather than, much, is he? No. So what we'll do, we'll make sure we get his IT sorted. We'll get Jay, who's on the pod, who he knows a bit about IT, he could go around to his house and fix it up for him. How about that, Jay? But yeah, everyone, let's all look forward to a great point actually. Just before we go, Derek, why announce it now? Why not wait till the end of the season? Why 7-8 games before the end of the season? Why would you bring that up at this point? There's teams at the top of that table that are pushing for Champions League football, or they thought they were until yesterday. So yeah, there's just so many questions that I've got, and hence the reason I'm going to be looking forward to this hour build up before we take on Liverpool at home. Just one final thing before we go. How's the game going to go, and what's the score going to be, Matt?
I think that we'll be in a position where Leeds players will have kind of been protected from a lot of this. I think. They'll have spent the day together and with Bielsa, and it'll be a case of the Liverpool players will have been very distracted by this because they're trying to work out what the future is, and I feel like we're going to probably hammer them. I think Rafinha is a miss for us, but I can see us winning by 3 clear goals, and I'll go 4-1.
Right, great stuff. I can't remember what I predicted, but it would have been completely different had you had to ask me today, I think. But yeah, the teams have just been announced.
I'll have to stand by my preview, but go on. What's the
teams? Teams have been announced exactly as we thought. Harrison comes back in. Costa keeps his position because Raf's out and striking at centre back. So go and enjoy Monday Night Football, everybody. Get on Twitter, get tweeting at both Matt and myself. Anything you do disagree or agree with, we're always there to listen in. But yeah,
Don't
enjoy the
forget
game
Brady and
tonight.
Cook after the game.
Yeah, directly after the game, we'll have Adam and Carl, I believe it is, hosting another instalment of Brady and Coke, the aftermatch reaction, where I'm sure we'll have a lot more to say around not only the European Super League, but the game played tonight as well. Take care, everybody.